Hey guys, EBPMAN here, and today we're going to give you a series of tips and tricks that are going to allow you to get the maximum benefit from your gear sport. Anywhere from being able to swim or use gloves while you're using your gear sport. Let's go ahead and check it out. So my first tip is to really accessorize your gear sport. The band that is a standard band that comes with the gear sport is a rubber band or silicone band, however you want to refer to it. And it's going to be great for working out. It's going to be great for swimming. But you really want to switch things up. You'll notice that in all my reviews I'm sporting different bands on my watches. This is a nice leather band from Strap Studio. Here I have another one that's a silicone based band. So I just switch things up based on what I'm going to do. If I'm going to work out, I wear one band, and if I'm going to go out, I wear another. So you'll see here that I have my gear sport with this nice white leather band. Really changes the look of your watch. And then I have these other ones that I've already reviewed on the channel. So tip 1, get some bands. Tip 2, get a tempered glass screen protector. I know a lot of people say that they've never hit their watch before, but I see so many gear fans on Facebook and on YouTube that are, and even on Pinterest, where they're sharing where either their watch screen got shattered or they were protected because they had a tempered glass screen protector. They cost around $7. I'm going to be reviewing them here on the channel as well, but I would definitely get one so that you're just making sure that you don't have any problems. And oh, by the way, the tempered glass screen protectors do not impact in any way the performance of the watch, and they'll be fine in the water as well. Now these next tips are all about how do you configure your watch to A, get the best battery life, and B, get the most out of your experience. The first thing you should always look at, especially as you're playing with the watch, and you're going to be going through every single app more than ever before, and that is going into this recents area. Recents is going to have all the apps that are kind of like in memory waiting to be activated. So what you want to do is any time that you feel that your watch is going sluggish, go into that recents area so that you can clear things up. It doesn't happen often, but if it does, go to recents and it's going to fresh everything up. Now the next feature I'm going to recommend you turn off, go into settings, go into watch faces, and what I would recommend is that you have always on off. And the reason why I say that is because by keeping that off, it's going to extend your battery life. Now by all means, if you like being able to see the watch face at all times, that's fine, but make sure that you realize that you're going to pay a price when it comes to battery life. So turn it off, and when you need to see what time it is, you can either raise your wrist or tap on the bezel or the button. Now the next feature that I disabled to get the best battery life is still in watch faces, and it's the wake up gesture. So what I do is I disable this wake up gesture because I find that it's something that I don't really need. So I just turn that off so that instead of by raising my wrist like this or tilting it, my watch won't turn on anymore, and that's also going to save some battery life because just let's face it, there's a lot of gestures that you're moving around and your watch would just be turning on and off, and especially if you're asleep, this is a feature that would just consume your battery. So it's unnecessary for me personally, so turn that off. Now here's another feature, and this is very much borrowed by or from Android. All right, still under watch faces, but I'm going to go into this feature that says edit quick settings. So in Android, these are called toggles. So you notice how you have all these little things that show up when you slide down. Well, what you can do here is you can remove some of these so that you have only the ones that matter to you. So for example, this little one right here that's the teardrop, that's the water setting. For if you're going to go swimming, you'll want to push that in the main screen, and it will disable all the functions so that it doesn't get interfered with as you're swimming. But let's say you're not a swimmer and you'll never use it. All you got to do is hit that little minus sign and it goes away. Now here's another setting that I've modified on mine. We're going to go into the device, still in the settings area, and you'll notice that by pressing this home button 2 times, it's going to wake up the assistant. Well, you can actually change that, and I actually have it changed in mine. So you could do a couple things. You could actually have it go to reminders. You could go to the PowerPoint controller. Let's go back. You can go to the phone settings to make a phone call, to the music player, to messages, whatever. What I have done is in mine, I've set it up to go to the recent applications. So you see that? So when I press that double home button twice, it takes me to recent applications so that I can clear things out if I need to. But again, you have your choice to configure it to whatever you want, to make a phone call, to go to contacts, to go to email, anything that you want. So personalize that to meet your specific need. Now, this is another good feature to mess with. Under Device Still, we're going to go down to Bezel Wake Up. So Bezel Wake Up, you can turn on your phone, your watch in a couple ways. Either by the gesture, which I told you you should choose to disable if you'd like. You can also by pressing one of these buttons, or by moving this bezel. Now, depending on where you are, I'm in the Midwest, so we're coming to winter, so you end up wearing sweaters, you wear up let's say jackets, and as you're wearing these, you may be moving the bezel. So one thing to consider is maybe turning off that bezel wake up so that when you turn this left or right, it won't wake up. Now, that may be something that you want to keep on as well. So if you have disabled the wrist gesture, you could turn that on so that instead of pressing these buttons, you're just turning it just like this to turn it on. Now, one other tip, if you ever have a question on any of these settings, every one of these settings has a little help area, and notice how it tells you wake up your gear by turning on the bezel or by turning the bezel. So check out the help if you just have a question about any of those features as well. Now the next tip is about the water lock mode. Now I love the way that they have it set up for water, but I've actually been using this while I sleep. So as I mentioned, I wear my watch at night and I use it to track my sleep, and I also use it as a silent alarm. I found that by turning on the water lock mode, because it turns off the bezel, it turns off the wake up gesture, it turns off all these things. This is a great way to extend your battery life because it turns everything off, and then in the morning all you have to do is turn it on again by pressing one of the buttons and you can disable it. So either use the water lock feature for sleeping or if you're going to go into the pool. Now, like I said, I'm in the Midwest, so we're starting to get cold, so we end up wearing these things. So I have a glove, and the challenge that you have with gloves is gloves don't work when you touch screens. Gloves don't work on smartphones unless you have obviously a Samsung device where they have the touch sensitivity feature. So you're going to go into device, and you're going to come down to where it says touch sensitivity. And when you enable that, so you can increase the touch sensitivity, your glove, you're going to be able to navigate up and down just by using your finger inside of the glove. There are some gloves that you can purchase that you can get like these special tips that are put on here, but there's no need to do that if you turn on touch sensitivity. Now the next feature that I would recommend you adjust, and this is going to go either way. I believe in being able to see what's on my screen, and that to me is more important than battery life. So what you can do is under the display, and there's a quick toggle for this too right here, so you see how your display setting is there. So what I would recommend you do is really look at what's the best display setting for you, right? So if I go in here and then determine, what's the brightness level? Do you need to have it cranked up right there? Is a 7 okay? Is a 6? I find that sometimes for me a 4 is fine because I don't need anything that's really bright. So adjust the settings to meet your needs, and that's going to extend your battery life. Even with mine, which is cellular, my classic here, I'm able to get 3 solid days of battery life, and I'm getting text messages. I'm using it as a speakerphone. I'm doing a lot of things, and the mixed use of your watch and the settings that I'm sharing with you are going to determine how long that battery is going to last. So definitely check out your brightness settings. Now, one of the things that I also do is I like a lot of automation, and we talked about the touch sensitivity, but I also like for things to be selected a lot faster. So under app settings, what I normally do is I like having the auto open feature on. So what that's going to do is this. Let me show you. So I'm going to go back all the way out, and I am going to go up to settings, oops, right there, and I'm going to let it pause there. Notice how I blinked? It automatically went in. Let me show that again. So that little dot is indicating what I'm about to select. It's going to blink once you turn to it and give you a couple seconds to choose something else. So watch, I'm going to move it over to alarms, leave it there, or reminders in this case, and now it opened it up. So instead of having to turn and tap, it will automatically do that for you. Now, you could still tap if you want, even as you're moving there. So this is a quick tip just to speed things up. Now here's another setting that I like, and let me go back. It's under app settings. I'm going to go down to call, and you can do a voice answer. A lot of cell phones today or earbuds have the ability where you can just say answer or reject to answer something. So this is great for hands-free. Especially this watch does just the watches in general, they do a great job as you're driving and you have your hands on the steering wheel, you get an incoming call, you could just say answer, and it will just answer. And depending if you're connected to the Bluetooth of your car or not, it would come up on the Bluetooth or come up on the watch. So enable that feature. That's going to save you some time when taking calls. Now in the same menu, there's messages. And while this has a really nice keyboard, and you can do swipe and all that stuff, I prefer sending audio. It just saves some time. So what you could do is when you're going to send, if you enable this, you'll be able to reply to messages using your voice, and it's just going to be an audio file that goes with it. So it's like a MMS. Now one of the other things I'd highlight that I use a lot is, and especially now that we have this neat little toggle window, is the power saving mode. So in the power saving mode, this is going to give you some great battery life. If you ever find yourself, and I've had this, I've been on a business trip and I've forgotten my charger, and instead of buying another charger, I just put my watch on power saving mode, and that will go on for days. So this is going to reduce the functionality. It's going to, turn off all functions, and you notice right here it says turn off all functions except calls, messages, and notifications. Turn off Wi-Fi and limits the performance, but it extends your battery. So if you found yourself in a situation where either you forgot your charger or for whatever reason you've been using it a lot because you've been listening to Spotify on the watch, or you went on a run and it was a long one and you want to just get through the day, turn this feature on. It's going to save your life. Now this next feature, you may or may not want to turn it on and off. Let's go into the healthcare settings, and there's some cool features within this. Obviously, one of the things that may annoy some is when the system is just constantly reminding you to get up and work out. So what you could do is, after establishing your profile, you can go into inactive time alerts. So what this means is, if I am not doing anything, what will happen is this will start reminding me, get up and walk, do something. You can turn that off by making that change, or you can set a specific schedule as to when you want to be reminded. I'm a fitness guy. I like working out, so I probably recommend that you set the schedule. So there are certain times of the day that it's just not feasible, so you can set it for that. But then those inactive times settings, you have the choice to enable that or disable it. And the last thing that I like in fitness, and let's go down a little bit, let's go out one more, is I find that the fitness function works really well when you are challenging someone else. So there's a together function, and if you have someone else that has a Samsung phone or Samsung watch, you can actually track and see each other's stats and then compete either on steps, on miles run, all this other stuff that's really cool that's going to help two people meet their fitness goals. Alright guys, so whether you're in a winter area or a cold area like I am, or you're swimming, there are tons of features that you can take advantage, settings that are going to make the most and most pleasurable experience when using your gear sport. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any comments or questions, leave it in the comment area. If you like the video, always give it a thumbs up, and thanks for subscribing, guys.